Welcome to the Senior Moment podcast, where we dive into topics that deal with seniors and senior living. If you are a senior, work with a senior, or have a senior in your life, this is the podcast for you. You never know what topics will be discussed in each and every episode. Hosted by Cindy Cannon and Brady Tabbs. This is the Senior Moment podcast. Welcome to the Senior Moment podcast. This week, we are here to talk about senior nutrition. Here with us today is Abigail Parker from the Nourished Revival. Abigail, why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Cindy. So, yes, my name is Abigail Parker, and I am a certified nutritionist. I am very into holistic health. I specialize in women's health, but I love talking about nutrition in general and really helping people age optimally and taking control of your health.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Can you give us a brief description of Nourished Revival?
So, for Nourish Revival, my goal is to help people really live their healthiest lives possible through coaching. It's one thing to try to do your health on your own, figure out what you should or shouldn't eat, and try to exercise. But it's another to have somebody in your corner to really listen to what's going on with you and be able to guide you. And so that is what I do is I help guide people to go from whatever concerns they're having about their health to reaching their goals and making it a reality to be able to maintain long-term health.
Last week we had someone in kind of talking about fitness, and nutrition and fitness go together. And typically at the beginning of the year, people that are, most people want to start off the beginning of the year and they want to say, probably because December's full of candy and sweets, and come January, I'm going to do it, right? I'm going to try to get some weight off, or I'm going to try to focus more on my health. And so seniors have really become more active in the fitness arena, and the numbers are just really climbing with the amount of people that are interested in going in and working out. And I believe, just from our audience here at Villa Rose, that we have also seen more seniors are interested in what they're eating and what they're consuming. Do you see some of that occur as well?
Yeah, so first it's amazing to hear you saying like seniors are wanting to move their body
They
because
are.
that is so key. We've heard the phrase a body in motion stays in motion, and that is exactly true. If you keep moving, you're going to keep moving basically. And I used to think that kind of this movement was a big deal, but really nutrition is what allows you to move. So having that nutrition component is key. And when people get moving, often they're thinking about, okay, I want to exercise more and then I should probably eat less and pay attention to what I'm eating. But that's not necessarily the case. Paying attention to what you're eating is great, but you need to often eat more when you're exercising more because of the fact that the food is fuel for your body. So if you're moving more, you need to make sure that you're actually fueling yourself to have that kind of movement.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know I shared last week a little bit. I myself, my fitness journey has been, 7, 8 years, but I felt awful. So I've lost 120 pounds in the last 7, 8 years. So, I've been pretty steady in my weight, 5, 10 pounds in the last 3 to 4 years. So
Which is
it
amazing.
took 4 years to get it off. But, I really prided myself on, I didn't have the weight loss surgery. It was all natural. But I was working in Springfield, and I would get in the car and I would drive to Springfield, and I would get out of the car and I was stiff and my joints hurt. And I was still fairly young. And so I was like, what is going on with me? So as you were saying, trying to listen to my body, the first thing that I did was focus on what I called clean eating.
Mhm.
And so I just started eating, fresh vegetables, and tried to get some protein in, and just basics. That's what I called it. Like, I tried to shop the fresh food aisle. That was it. And So I did see some major improvements. I still can tell today, Brady, tomorrow, when I was over there on your chocolate thing, tomorrow I'm going to feel it. If I, to this day, if I intake quite a bit of sugar, the next day I feel it. So it is, I can feel it. I can feel it in my joints. I can feel it in my body. And so it is interesting that I have been able to recognize that now, but never would have been able if I didn't have started to watch what I eat. But I just noticed a huge change in what I took in. Now I said last week when I added the fitness component to it, I said the weight melted off. It literally started to melt off. I mean, when I started going to the gym and getting on an elliptical, and it just putting the two together just really for my body, my metabolism just took off, and I lost the weight. And I focused on 10 pounds at a time. And I told her that last week too. That's what I focused on, just 10 pounds at a time till I got to the goal weight that I wanted to be. But really, I see more and more seniors here, even as we have town halls, they're very concerned about, their carb intake because of diabetes. And they're looking for more of those healthier options. And I could be wrong here, but I think as time goes on, we're going to see, people that are in their 50s today are in 10 years, 15 years, they're going to be looking at places. What are they going to be offering when it comes to food options? Because I mean, processed foods are killing us, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And, you mentioned paying attention to carbs. And the thing that I love to talk about with carbs that even people don't realize is fruit is a carb. Because often, whenever people are like, oh, I'm going to pay attention and not eat my bread and my cookies, but then they eat an apple and they're like, this is still fine, which absolutely, yes, an apple is
Right.
fine, but it's
Absolutely.
still a carb.
It is a carb.
So if you're trying to pay attention to limiting your carbs, eating an apple is not necessarily going to get you where you wanna be.
Exactly. And I did notice, I mean, I tried lots of different things, and I told people, I'd hit a plateau and I'd change it up, right? Trying to figure out. But I did, low carb for for quite some time there at the end. That's the last, 20, 30 pounds came off low carb, and my gut felt better. So still to this day, I feel better when I don't have the bread, or if I'm going to eat bread, I find sourdough bread is better for
Oh,
me.
yeah.
And, but I do think it's really important you kind of listen to your body and figure out what works and what
Mhm.
doesn't work. And when you feel better, was that because of it's our fuel, right? It's our fuel for the next day or for the next hour. People don't realize how important is protein to seniors, do you think?
Oh, so protein is huge at any aspect of life, and I think it's so huge in the fact that we think of other foods first. We think about, "Okay, I need to cut back on my carbs. I need to eat more fruits and vegetables," that we don't necessarily think about, "I need to eat more protein." So, that's one of the things that I love to recommend for people is just pay attention, eat more meat. Make sure that anytime you're eating, you're getting in a protein, and meat is always the easiest thing to do. There's other protein sources like you can do cottage cheese and Greek yogurt and even like meat sticks. But like just getting meat in with every meal can be a simple way.
And for seniors too, with their muscle mass, it's so important for your muscle mass for your protein, correct? And with these guys and fall risk, and I say, gosh, if your body's in shape and you take a fall, it's going to be easier to recover if you've built some muscle there versus you've not been moving and things are so so good to know. I think, and two, I think at some point we're going to touch on supplements here, but I say to try to get some meat in too, because, some people just want to go to a protein shake. And I myself have to say, sometimes I do like a protein shake, but I do use very clean protein with not a bunch of junk in it, which people have to look at, right? But it is better to get it from the natural source. It is better to have it from a meat product and fish, salmon. Every Friday here we do fish, and that's one of the reasons. Those are good
Yeah.
good proteins for them to take in.
I think it was interesting you saying that your clean eating, that led you to knowing, what had effects on your body.
It did. It
That
absolutely
that
did.
was what led you to find
And it
that
was
out.
interesting when I went to the low carb and I had to cut out some of the fruit that I had. That's kind of, I do have a sweet tooth, but thank you, my father. He gave it to me.
I relate.
Okay. And so I was going to say that was my sweetness. And so I did miss that when I did cut out most of the carbs, because you're right. People don't realize, I mean, there are natural sugars in there. And so then I did start adding back some of those complex carbs, just have to do it in moderation. So, like you said, an apple versus a chocolate bar is much better, right? It's still got some of the same sweets and you get the fiber and it's better for your digestive system too, sometimes to take in an apple. And so it took a while for me to figure those out. And I mean, you were talking about holistic. I think people don't realize we can heal our bodies through food, can't we?
Yes. Yeah. A food is medicine approach is what I like to say. Even you talking about how you were able to notice when you were changing around what you were eating, the impact on how you were feeling after. That is one of the first things I do with every single client I work with is get into how are you feeling when you're eating? Because most often people don't realize that connection. They're just eating and enjoying food, which is great, but how is it actually impacting how you're feeling throughout the day? Because that's the whole food is medicine thing. And whenever you're paying attention to what you're eating, you can notice that when I start to eat more apples and less chocolate bars, I want more apples and less chocolate bars.
Right.
That's really a big way to be able to kind of take control of your eating is to actually just eat more of those clean foods, like you mentioned, as opposed to what I like to call the hyper palatable foods, those foods that really appeal to your taste buds and make you want more of them. When you get to these natural foods, you can kind of take back control of your taste buds too and want those instead.
That when you were saying the taste buds, that triggered me. You know, I was going to say there are times when you would think something was wonderfully delicious, and then after you don't have it for a while, for soda, let's take soda for instance. I got off the soda bandwagon so many years ago, Brady.
That's my downfall. Soda, diet soda.
And so every once in a while, if I have an upset stomach or something, I will do like a Sprite Zero just for that. But the burning sensation that goes down your throat when you do not have a carbonated drink for years and years and years, or I don't know, it's probably been 6 or 8 months ago. I was at my desk and I was like, "Ooh, I'm a little dizzy or nauseous or whatever." And my assistant brought me a regular Sprite and I took a sip of it and almost it almost came up because all I tasted was like basically syrupy, sugary stuff.
Mhm.
And I was like, wow, to think years ago, like it was nothing to drink a soda and not even think about it. The carbonation in the throat, it still gets me today. If I take a drink of a soda, that it just burns all the way down. If you stop drinking soda and you haven't drank it, I haven't had a soda like just because for probably 8 or 10 years.
Right. It gets to
And
that
so
point, you're like, this is not worth it.
right, but your taste buds change, don't they?
Mhm.
It's like I don't have it. I don't have that desire
You
to
don't miss
have
it.
that. Don't miss it. And yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. It
I wish
is
I could do that.
you
That would be
you
the biggest
can
thing
do
I could
it.
do if I gave up soda. That would be diet soda. I'm a diabetic, so I drink diet soda. But
You can do it. I promise. We could all be your I was gonna say Brett doesn't drink soda either. Hasn't for years. I believe that was a football coach that told you to get off the soda though, right?
Mm.
That would be not American football, right? Regular football, soccer. Anyway, so let's kind of get back maybe on track. Sorry. So senior nutrition, what are some things seniors can do to improve their nutrition? I mean, we've probably hit on a few already, but what are some things they can do to improve?
Right. Cause just one of the things right off the bat is eating more of those whole foods, that clean eating mindset. Often we get kind of caught up in the what should I eat? How much should I eat? And you might think about like when you're talking fruits and vegetables, thinking of so many servings in a day. I love to just look at color. increasing the amount of color that you're eating per day or even on your plate in a meal. Kind of a 3 to 5 range is really good because whenever you are eating a food that's a different color, it's going to have different nutrients in it. That's what's making it a different color. And we need a variety of nutrients to function right. So just increasing the amount of color that you're eating is a really amazing way to just easily increase your nutrition that you're getting.
That's very interesting. Increasing the color. Great. Absolutely great. That's wonderful. I was going to say, and what about like hydration, drinking water? I think that's probably a big thing that we see with seniors that they just aren't taking enough water in, right?
I love that you mention it because when we think about nutrition, often we think about food, and water is really the biggest nutrient that we need. Our bodies are mainly water. If you think about your blood moving through, even when you're breathing, you need your lungs to be nice and moist so that you can breathe easily. If you think about like leather drying up, you want your lungs to be able to contract and expand nicely. And thirst is something that as you age, you start to not notice it. It goes down, which is crazy because your water needs don't go down. Your water needs are then still staying up, not high or increasing as you're getting older. Especially as you're getting older, your body temperature is not as well regulated. So it might be easier for you to become dehydrated. So making sure that you're drinking enough water can be really important as you're getting older.
We see that here. I mean, uh, quite regularly. They get dehydrated, they're not taking enough water, they get a urinary tract infection, they get confused. And so I know even people that have like they start to have memory issues. They don't
Mhm.
even recognize that they have this need for water. I also think that some of the barriers is getting up and going to the bathroom. And I was go yes, when you start drinking a lot of water, you're gonna start going to the bathroom more, but your body eventually kind of regulates it, and then it is able to handle it, you know? So sometimes just getting up and moving to the bathroom, that is sometimes a struggle for seniors as they get older, right? So they think, "Well, if I don't drink, then I won't have to get up and go to the
Oh,
bathroom,"
yeah.
right? So but we know they have to drink water.
And some forget to drink. And that's when I was in the nursing home, we'd have RAs pass water to keep the residents hydrated. It was so important to keep them hydrated because UTIs are more frequent,
Mhm.
and that was a big part of it.
And I was gonna say, I think drinking out of a straw sometimes is better. They
Yeah.
take more in, right, than what they realize because, I mean, I noticed myself too. We have this cup, I have a Stanley cup at home that I use because I find I drink more. And now they make like water enhancement drinks, like things you can put in your water to make it taste. I know it's probably full of junk, but you probably can find some cleaner ones, but they still might help them to get more water in, right? Which is ultimately the goal.
Yeah, having a straw is a huge hack to be able to drink more water. It's something that I've even heard people say is the fact that they notice they drink better when they have a straw. And talking about getting up to use the bathroom, one of the things that can help with that is instead of trying to make a point of, oh, I need to really drink some water and chugging a bunch of water, is just getting in a habit of drinking throughout the day. So you're having water near you so that you're taking sips at a time so that instead of you're loading your body and having to get it out, you're just slowly taking it in so your body's better absorbing that water and you're not having to just flush it out, which is really better for both not having to go to the bathroom as much, but it's better for your body then too to be able to have an easier time absorbing it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I know the cups have become obviously, here in what the last few years, you almost see
Mhm.
everybody they're carrying their cup. You're hoping they have water, Brady.
Well,
I mean, I know I have my emotional
Not that
support water
there you go.
bottle.
I know. See, I have mine too. Not that I'm calling you out. I'm
not at
just
all.
just a friend. Okay.
What are some of the biggest challenges for seniors when it comes to nutrition?
I think that it really is going to depend on your living situation in part, how easily you're able to get around, and if you are having meals even brought to you. Like one of the wonderful things here is the fact that you are providing 3 meals a day, which is huge versus somebody who's still living on their own and either doesn't want to cook, has never cooked, or has a hard time getting around. Meals on Wheels is something that's amazing, but it's not providing that 3 meals a day for people. So getting enough food can sometimes be a struggle, I think, for seniors. And something that really is important for them, like we talked right off the bat in the beginning about, exercising, you need to eat more food. But in general, you need to be eating 3 meals a day, making sure that you're providing for yourself. And I think another thing that is a problem for seniors too is, again, that kind of balanced eating with your protein, your fat, and your carbs, those 3 macronutrients that we need to get. Not that anybody needs to pay attention to counting macros or anything, but just making sure that you're eating those 3 foods, because it's really easy to go for convenience and grab something that you can just pop in the microwave, like a Hot Pocket or a microwavable burrito, or eat a muffin. But it's really easy then to eat too many carbs and not get in enough protein. So paying attention to the foods that you're eating in general too there can really help.
It is one of the things that we see when seniors move in here. One of their biggest challenges is their meals. We definitely we pride ourselves on offering 3 meals a day. And I wish I could tell you that all of the residents, come to the dining room for 3 meals a day. Most of them probably eat on an average of 2 meals a day, just because I think they're not used to having a good sized portion of food in front of them, and as they get older, they don't eat as much as they
Mhm.
used to. But it is one of the things that one of the things that brings people here is because they don't want to cook, or how do you cook for one person, right? And we see so many people that come in, and typically when we give a tour here, we always invite them to go to the dining room. We, yes, we do still do some fried foods over there, but
It's
but
balance.
it is balanced. But some of them do. I mean, those comfort foods still are
Yep.
are important to have, right? But most of them are eating at home in their regular home setting. They're eating frozen meals that are full of sodium,
Mhm.
and most of them need to be watching their sodium intake anyway. And it's just, unfortunately, it's junk, and that's what they're eating because it's easy, right? And so they come in here, and I definitely pride ourselves on, we have real cooks in the kitchen cooking real food. Like, the meat comes in, from a meat processing, and we use US foods, and we cook the meat, and every day there's a soup. They're making a homemade soup, and you know, uh, we're just a family owned community here. So we're not buying for 20 other communities. We do it in house. And you can sit down at a meal, and you can always get a fresh side salad or cottage cheese. Those things are available to you for lunch and dinner every day. Every morning we offer a fresh fruit with your breakfast. So, we used to offer multiple desserts, and we've went to just an evening meal of dessert, but we do have like a sugar-free dessert for people who are diabetic. But, we've started kind of making it more balanced. But those are things that, a lot of people living in their home don't have options to. And when they sit around a table, there's a socialization that occurs when you're eating your meal that occurs. And so a lot of people come in and be like, well, my doctor would like me to gain 10 pounds or 20 pounds. And it doesn't typically take very long here for them to meet those objectives, because we've had some really tiny people come in here before, but they're sitting and eating, and they eat more, and they're eating better stuff.
Mhm.
And definitely, we see a lot of people drawn here because of the nutrition factor. I mean, families are concerned. They're not eating, they're not drinking. When they are eating, it's a frozen meal or drive-through burger.
It wasn't that long ago. We had a referral on a lady. She was at one of the rehabs down here, and we got a referral on her. And the social worker said she'd gained 5 pounds. I think it was 5 pounds in 7 weeks or something, because she hadn't been eating properly at home. So she'd gained weight just by getting regular meals. And so that's something that's very easy for them to do, is go home and just not eat enough
Right.
or
Yeah.
properly.
Yeah, and that's something, even when people are talking about weight, they often think about, like, well, if you are trying to lose weight, then you need to eat less food. If you eat more food, you're going to gain weight. But if you're not eating enough food, that can be a problem as well, where you're not going to be the right weight, either too low or too high. I love too that you mentioned the socialization aspect of eating together, because when we talk about nutrition, we talk about food, but the right food, the wrong food, put that aside. Whenever you are eating in a setting that you feel comfortable, when you are enjoying the food around people that you care about, that understand you, you can have conversation with, it completely changes the whole aspect of your well-being when you have that mental component as well added into your health.
When Brady does most of the tours now, but I was doing tours and I used to tell people there's some kind of magic that happens here. It's hard for me to put it into words. It's hard for me to describe it, but most everyone here is going through some of the same sense of loss in their life, whether it's some loss of independence, loss of a spouse, loss of children. And so you tend to think maybe mentally it's just you going through it.
Mhm.
And then you come into a place like this and you learn there are all kinds of people that are going through it. And I think we all can relate to a lot of times when you're going through a real struggle in your life, it's easier to go through it with someone who can support you and be there with you. And that happens here. And so, even just sitting down at a meal and being able to have someone there with you, they'll eat more. Again, I've tried to put it into words. I don't know. I just say there's this magic juju that happens in here. And these friendships and they really are formed. And you'll see a group of ladies meeting to go in to eat dinner together. And if someone doesn't see someone, they'll stop by the desk and say, "Hey, I haven't seen such and such today," because they're worried about them. We do a daily check on every resident here each day, but it's knowing someone missed you at a meal, right? So it's like those things are so important. Again, it's really hard. I tell people it's hard to describe it. You have to experience it, but it definitely does their entire well-being. It does make a difference. Not only again that socialization component, especially with you have it sitting down and having a meal makes a big difference. It really does.
And I think magic is a great way to describe that,
There you go.
because even if you're going through something hard, it can be easier sometimes to close off and to not eat, not want to talk to people. So having this environment where saying you're forced to is not really a great way to describe it,
Right.
but where you're forced to
Yes.
eat and interact with people can really be something that is healing for you.
When you say forced, we kind of have a guideline around here. So you have to come to the dining room to get your meal. So there's a home care agency in the building and they can pay them to deliver the meal to them, but they have to pay for it for them to deliver a meal to them. And that is our way of encouraging them to come to the dining room
Yeah.
because they need the
Mhm.
socialization. They really do, because it makes a huge difference. Someone will acclimate more to the living environment. I mean, it's an independent living environment, but they will acclimate more. They will build friendships. When they come to the dining room and they meet people and they participate. And it's one way of our trying to just keep them moving. It's like, come on down to the dining room. I mean, that's the benefit is you moving down the hall. Our halls here are fairly large halls. We're a giant building. So if you from end to end, it's like 2 football fields. So we have elevators at each middle intersection in this building, but people sometimes look at the building when they come in for a tour and they get a little heart palpitation over how much I have to walk. That walking is the best thing they can do for themselves, is walk down to the dining room. It is the best thing. We had, this is years ago. We raised our rates a little bit, like 3% raise. And I had this lady, she was 95 years old. She was the only lady. She came down, she gave me a notice. She said, I'm going to go rent an apartment in a high-rise community. And I said, okay, I get it. I do. I understand. So she gave us her notice and she left and she was gone for 4 months. She was 96. In 4 months, she came back in and she wanted to know if there was a studio apartment available. And not sure we had one at the time. But anyway, we got her back in here within a few months. And so she told me, she said, when she came back out, she said, I have to be here. Do you know that I was not walking and I could not hardly walk but 100 feet?
Oh my goodness.
And she said, well, I did not realize walking to that dining room every day at my age helped me to stay mobile.
Mm.
And so it took her about a month every day, because I remember the aides even pushing a wheelchair so she could walk. If she got tired, then she could sit down and they get her down to the dining room. It took her about a month to get the strength built up to get back to that dining room. And to this day, she uses a walker to come down to the dining room.
Oh, how amazing.
That is how important it is, because when you're in a home and you're just moving from one room to the other, and that's what they're doing. They're moving from their bedroom, maybe to the kitchen. Some people are sleeping in their living room in a recliner. And so you're not moving, you're not moving around. We talked about last podcast, we talked about how just increasing your steps to like 8,000 steps a day reduces your 51% reduces your death rate.
Yes.
It's like, wow, that's pretty amazing just to move, right? So we talked about all the ways they can track, and I was talking about the new Aura ring here, and we had a resident that actually got the first ring in the building, and I have been here late at night, and ladies are out walking to try to get their steps. Like those are just so great to see that, right?
Yes. Just so
moving.
heartwarming.
Yeah.
Again, this idea of a body in motion stays in motion. It's not that you have to do anything crazy. Just walking can be what you need.
That's kind of what we talked about on the fitness thing. Is like, for this age group, just walking is one of the most important things. Just keep moving. Okay, Brady, why don't you ask the challenge question?
Oh, sure.
Did we already ask that?
Oh, we already
Sorry.
asked the challenge.
We have just chased
We're on
multiple rabbits,
what
but it's
tips or
been so good.
suggestions?
Okay, I'll go there. So what tips or suggestions do you have for seniors who are trying to focus on improving their nutrition? What are some things they can really focus on?
So, a few things we talked about already. First being trying to eat all day long. I know that it's hard sometimes to wake up and want to eat, and it's tempting just to wait until lunchtime. But getting in a little bit of something in the morning, having lunch, having dinner is fantastic. Giving your body that energy, even giving your brain that energy to think. And then getting more color in. So, focusing on trying to eat more fruits, veggies. I think I saw that you have even a garden here.
We do. Yes, we do. Well, so we not only have resident raised garden spots, so we have residents can actually have their own garden area. And then we also do have a community garden as well, where we pull stuff from the kitchen.
So really cool that you can have them actually involved in doing that, because I think too, when you're trying to eat better, that it's easier if you're involved in the process as opposed to you're just being handed food. It's something that I talk about with my moms. They're trying to eat better, but their kids don't necessarily want to eat better. How they're like, I don't know how to do this. It's like, well, get your kids involved. When you're involved in the cooking process and what you're eating, it makes you actually want to eat it more. So I love that you have the garden as an opportunity to get your hands dirty,
Yes.
really, and, get involved in what you're eating.
And it is interesting, the residents want to share. So typically when harvest comes, you will see like little cherry tomato cups or tomatoes that are put out to share with other residents. So they will grow something and then they want to share that with everything. And we do we do love that we can, grow the sweet potatoes and then, they've got sweet potato casserole or whatever. And it's the food that's being grown right outside. So it is a great thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's such a pride too
Yeah.
whenever you made something and you get to share it with
Yes.
somebody else.
Absolutely.
Which even, if you're trying to cook more, if you have somebody else that you can cook for, maybe it's you are able to invite family over. Maybe you have a neighbor that you can become friendly with and provide food for. Because often, if you're trying to cook for yourself, you're not necessarily going to want to cook for yourself because of the fact that you don't want to do it because it's just you, but also because of the fact that you're like, well, I don't need all of this food. So having somebody else involved too can be really helpful.
Yep, definitely the cooking for one. I do get that. It's a little challenging sometimes to cook for one.
I remember
It's healthy.
my grandma years ago, for years, every time we'd go over there, like if it was breakfast, she would have a grapefruit. She'd cut it in half. She'd get one of those little spoons with a sharp, edge, and she would.
It is a grapefruit
Is it a
spoon.
grapefruit spoon? I
I
wouldn't even
have
share that.
one.
So anyway,
Mhm,
she would eat half a grapefruit every morning, or at
mhm,
least most mornings that I saw her, and that was something. She was very healthy. Of all my grandparents, she was the most, and she lived the longest, but she
mhm.
was the most healthy, and was the only time we ever had carrots and celery. We went over to her house. She'd always have carrots and celery sitting out there that she'd cut up and washed, and yeah, she was. But this kind of reminds me of her a little bit, talking about this topic.
Oh, I love that. That
Yeah,
clean eating idea again there, but
it
also
is.
that just I love the joy that food can bring people having memories come up like that.
Well, we celebrate with food a lot, don't we? I
Mhm.
mean, that's how we celebrate with food, and yeah, I was gonna say food does we have invoke a lot of memories
Yeah.
probably with food and, yeah, think back to something that maybe is comforting because of, your mom always made it or your grandma. I think you have a love with a coconut cream pie.
I do. That's probably that's the other grandma, but yes, the coconut cream pie will
I've heard
always be in
that.
my memories.
Yep. I made him one and he was like, "That's the closest one I've had." It was my dad's favorite was the coconut cream pie, and first of all, just if I can just say, just if you want something, make it homemade.
Oh, yeah.
Just make it homemade because it's not full of all of this processed stuff to keep it, I mean, to keep it from going bad. Somebody was just saying the loaf of bread that now you can leave out for months and months and months and doesn't mold. It's like
Just
unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. I remember as a kid, like, if you went to the grocery store, sometimes by Saturday or Sunday, your mom was telling you peel off the penicillin and just eat it. Because there would be a little mold, right? And you leave sourdough out for, a few days and it's because it's real food.
yep.
It's not, yeah. So it is very interesting. But I do tell people, like, if you really want something, just make it because chances are it's gonna be healthier for you than I also have the 3 bites too. I always say that too. If there's something you really want, just do
Oh,
3
yes.
bites and then put it away. That way you're not mentally telling yourself you can't ever
Mhm.
have that, right? You get it. You just do 3 bites of it and be done with it.
Absolutely. So then it's not that you are feeling like you have no control. It's you get to
Correct.
enjoy it and
That's
then
right.
be satisfied with what you had.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you made me think of another tip that wanted to share that can be really helpful for seniors, anybody who is struggling with cooking more, is utilizing the freezer section even. Talking about foods expiring, that's when we think about foods we should focus on, we wanna focus on more fresh foods, and if you're buying from the produce section, those foods are going to go bad, but the freezer section can be your best friend because they're freezing these foods still, so they're fresh, and they're still using minimal ingredients even, like, Bird's Eye will make some really great side options, like roasted potatoes and cheddar broccoli rice, so then all you have to do is get a protein. So if you wanted to grab, like, ground beef, you throw all of that in a skillet and cook it, and it's one-pan meal to make it really simple.
There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's switch
Hit
gears
the
just for a moment.
supplements. Let's talk about
Yeah.
supplements for a
How
minute.
do you feel about supplements, and what do you see trending right now?
So I love a food first approach. You can't out supplement a bad diet, they say, because if you're not paying attention to what you eat at all, then supplements aren't really going to make that big of a difference for you. However, if you're paying attention to what you're eating and wanting to improve overall your health, adding in some supplements can be really helpful. So I love to recommend supplements on an as needed basis. But for seniors, there's a couple in particular that can be really beneficial. The first one being vitamin D. So we are so lucky living here in the Midwest that this time of year in January, you're not really getting much vitamin D from the sun, which is our main source of it. So it can be helpful in general to supplement, but especially if you are older than 60, you are not producing as much vitamin D. So it can be really beneficial for you to supplement at that point. And doing a vitamin D K2 supplement can be good too because the K2 will help your body to utilize the vitamin D as well. But vitamin D is really important for seniors because it helps with your strength. So if you think about making it so you're not as likely to fall, or if you do fall, you're not going to be as likely to break a bone, also can help with depression. So
Okay.
that again is going to connect back to winter, having that seasonal depression. You're not getting as much vitamin D. Having some of that supplemented can help your mood as well. And then also can help with immunity, which seniors are more likely to get sick. So that can be a really great option for boosting your immune system there too.
Well, that's perfect. We need we need that for the entire building, right?
Some very good reasons.
There
Just
we
start
go.
putting it with their
That's,
plates.
like we'll just like pass it around in the dining room. So I was going to say, we do know that you specialize, you said in some women health kind of thing, and stress and hormones, right?
Mhm.
And so I think I looked, and yours is called the Hormone Reset Blueprint.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yes,
right.
that is my coaching program that I walk women through. So we start off kind of with a hormone reset, establishing what is already going on for you and focusing on kind of some key foundations to start to bring your hormones into balance. So looking at the foods that you're eating, what your stress is like, what your water intake is like, what your movement is like, all of these wonderful things that we've been talking about. And then we check your specific hormone levels as we've kind of started to do a little bit of a reset to see what do your hormone levels actually look like and how are they affecting you. So from PMS to menopause, you might be dealing with a variety of symptoms. You might have weight gain, you might have sugar cravings, you might have hot flashes, heavy periods. All of those things can be because your hormones are out of balance. And so having that clear vision of where are your hormones at now and what can they be like to make it so that those struggles that you're dealing with are going away is what we work on then at that point is helping to bring your hormones back into balance.
Okay. So any like middle-aged ladies that might be interested, well, you said from PMS all the way to premenopause, people in
Yeah.
menopause, even after menopause?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I was going to say, I think I shared with you as we were just catching up a little bit before this. One of the things here that we do have is quite a few couples, or we even have siblings, and, where one may be helping to kind of care for the other, just more of in a supported environment where there are people around that can give them some help and support. And I always notice the caregiver that probably is just under a lot of stress
Mm.
trying to care for their loved one. And that can definitely affect how we feel and our body, right?
Absolutely. I'm in a holistic Facebook group and I love, keeping up with things that people are asking. But a big thing that I see is they're saying, like, well, I've been eating well and I've been exercising and I'm still struggling. And my favorite thing to comment is, how's your stress? Because you can be doing all of those things, but if your stress is out of control and getting the better of you, it's going to take a toll on your hormones, which is going to take a toll on your health because your stress is regulated by your hormones. First, basically everything in your body is regulated by those hormones. But stress can really take a downstream effect then, starting with your cortisol levels, which is kind of becoming a bigger word people are hearing,
Mhm.
and affect everything else going on in the body.
So you then, if somebody comes in to see you, you have them go do some blood work so you can take a look at those hormone levels. Is that how you do it?
So it is a urine test. It just gets sent straight to your house.
Okay.
I work with a provider that's authorized to order it, and it gets shipped straight to you, and you just pee on some paper. So simple. And then
Really?
you get the results, and we talk about what it all means.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So, if people want to connect with you and your organization, and this sounds like, oh, this is something I probably, and I was going to say, just because I'm in that wonderful age, that's what I'm going to say. I know lots of people that struggle, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they do. And so, trying to take control of that and just learn and educate yourself. So, again, you know what you're putting in your mouth, whether it's going to help or not. How can people connect with you? How can I get a hold of you?
So easiest way would be go to my website.
Okay.
It's Nourished Revival, NOURISHED revival.com. I have all the information on there about what I do, who I can help, and there's even you can go ahead and schedule a free reset session with me, which is where we'll dive into what exactly is going on for you and get into how we can bring your hormones back into balance.
And we will definitely put a link on this podcast that will show us, or that will just, they can go right to it. I mean, if you go, it looks like there's a free 5-day hormone reset challenge going on right now. They can join that. Is that still going on?
So I actually am in the process of updating that.
Okay. So,
But it will be
oops.
coming back.
Okay.
We finished that, but it will be coming back. If you are tuning in, though, I will have a free guide that is about to be launched, and that is where that is going to be. So that is
Okay.
happening over the weekend. I'm excited about.
Oh, that's great.
There's
That's great.
always new things coming out. So.
Perfect. So we will put a link so that people can connect with you. And I just love that it's just a local resource here in Bethalto. And I don't know, maybe I'll have to schedule a time to go see her. Brady, what are you going to work on giving up?
Why do I feel like you're thinking soda?
Hey, you said you want to. Where there's a will, there's a way now.
I'm just
As much soda as I drink, it probably would be
benefits you.
remarkable.
I'm
It would be a
just-
remarkable.
Brady, I'm just messing with you.
Oh, I
You know.
know.
Oh, Abigail, thanks for coming in. This was great. It was great conversation. I'm passionate about what I eat, so it was very easy for me to have this conversation. I wish more people were interested in what I think as time goes on, more people will become more interested in it. But I just think the more people that really take a look at this and really get serious about it, I think they'll just see an improvement in their health.
I know. I, didn't used to care about what I ate. I thought food was calories and it was whatever, But what really got me into nutrition was learning that what you're eating now can impact your chance of developing Alzheimer's later, which my grandpa passed away with. So I think it's just kind of everybody has to have their eyes opened where something touches you. And that's really whenever talking about like cutting out soda, you make the changes whenever you have a reason to do it. And so hopefully the more you get interested in nutrition and the more you learn about nutrition, the more you get inspired to really want to take care of yourself.
So I was going to say, you said that, and I instantly. So my journey began really a lot. I mean, I told you the story about going to Springfield, but years after that, my dad was diagnosed with frontal temporal dementia, and he's passed away. And we battled with it for 5.5, 6 years. But frontal temporal dementia is the only dementia that they can say is genetically connected. It's the only one that they can really tie together. So, sitting over at a neurologist office in St. Louis, first of all, I am my father made over from my personality to there is just not much that we differed in. So, body systems, you name it, we were alike. Anyway, but what I can do is focus on, making sure I'm eating healthy and feeding my brain good stuff and not a bunch of junk so that if it does come for me, it comes at later.
Absolutely.
So
You live for today for tomorrow.
correct. Correct. So that's the only thing. But that is interesting when you were talking about the dementia. And I was like, yeah, I got a little connection too there. Anyway, thank you so much, Abigail, for coming. It was a great conversation.
Oh, such a pleasure.
you.
Thank you for
You're
having
welcome.
me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to the Senior Moment podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, we invite you to like, follow, and share wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We hope you'll join us next time. Take care, everybody.